Oh, let's turn that away a little bit. I'm live on YouTube now, as opposed to Facebook. Some of you who might come and watch this now, you've come over from Facebook. So thank you very much. Some of you will watch on YouTube, so that's brilliant too. Yeah, people have been saying that Facebook will maybe not have been the best sort of format for me to use, so I'm going to use YouTube and we'll see how that goes. All right, so say along in the comments. Don't forget, on YouTube as opposed to Facebook, your comments will come in via your Facebook name. So if you want me to say hi, give me a name as well as your screen name. Excuse me. Took me a while to get on. I get a mad case of the munchies when I'm about to go live. Don't know what it was. Just get out of the shower, about to go live, hungry. Oh, anyway, I have my Coke, so I'm happy. So, some of you may have noticed the new ticker tape. You can find me on Patreon, and a big shout out to the first patron I have, who gets a nice big shout out, is Maurice down there. You'll see it scrolling by. Maurice is one of my second tier patrons, so they get a shout out. All of my patrons' names get put on the little ticker down there, but my second tier guys, you get a proper shout out. So links and all that sort of stuff is in the description down below, so I'm not going to go on that until later on, or if anybody asks me for it. So tonight, what are we working on? Well, you can see on my desk here I have a couple of assassins. I got some of these guys. You may have seen these popping up on Facebook and my Instagram account. Again, all the links are down below. I've been working on these guys. I'm actually waiting for some paint to finish these guys off. Where are we? Oh, there. So the armor needs a special paint. I'm waiting for that to turn up, but I can do the heads tonight and a few of the other details. And there's a skull on this guy that could be done later. So we'll see what we do. I want to build these guys. So normally my nighttime feeds are my hobby time, which is the hashtag that we got there. The one above it, this one here, this is my hashtag. This is, talk about me. I'll keep an eye on this, on that one there. I keep an eye on it, and we'll, see what gets put up and talk about me. That's about me. Nobody's used it before. I think there was one post on Instagram somewhere that used it, but that was from years ago. So yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me. And I just thought I'd throw that up there. Hobby time, that's what we're doing. All right, so yeah, we've got a few bits and pieces. I'm just trying to catch up. Normally I do my hobby time, you see me Blood Angels getting done and so on and so forth, but tonight I just fancy getting ahead of some work that I've got coming up. I have got an almighty order on the way. I'm just waiting for the rest of it to arrive, and we have an almighty job coming up that has a deadline, so more on that when I get started on it. But as it is, so I want to get on with some of the work that I do have on the go at the minute. I want to kind of get a head start, so that's what I'm going to do tonight. So you're welcome to come along, jump in the comments, say hello, have a chat. This is hobby time. This is the relaxed time. I'm not really pushing to get anything done. So all right, so we'll switch the camera over and we'll get started. So here we go. Much better camera angles we got here, and if I just change this here, we should be able to bring up, there we go. So we've got the YouTube comments on there, so we can have a chat on YouTube without worrying about missing anything. And I can move a few of my screens around because I would like to keep an eye on who I've got in the feed. So that's what we got there. Right, okay. Let's get started, shall we? My phone's going to die as well. Oh, computer. Just had to plug my phone in. Oh, that's better. There we go. Right, okay. So yeah, tonight. Right, so I'm not going to do any painting straight away, so these guys can move out of the way a little bit. So they can go over there. So yeah, I want to build these guys. I want to get these built ready to go, ready for the beginning of next week when I start doing some work properly. So we're going to get a head start on these. So we'll open them up, we'll clean them up, and get them ready for priming. I don't do any priming while I'm live because it's done in my air booth, which is just too noisy to do live. And it's pretty boring as well. So we'll get into these guys. And we'll get it done. Oh, don't you just hate these blister packets? I'm sure there's an easier way to open them. I just haven't figured it out. Notifications on Facebook that I'll keep an eye on as well. In case anybody wants to chat to me on there. Oh. Come on. There we go. Now, I do these things a little bit different because of the way that I'm going to be, the way that I paint these, and the way that I'm going to be basing them. I need to kind of do that at the same time as building them. So I have to do things a little bit differently. Usually you would build these things, you've got the instructions on the back and you build them from parts 1 to 2, right? 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, right? Which for this is, to start with, we will do that on this one. But on this one, you start with the body and the arms, and then you glue it to, all this. I do things a little bit differently because of the way that I have to paint them, and I'll show you that in just a minute. So what we do is, to start with, we get the clippers and we'll get parts 1 and 2 off of this young lady or old lady. I have absolutely no idea. Part 1 and part 2. And get my hobby knife. Oh, there we are. That's lovely, isn't it? Right. Give these a clean up. Clean them up off the rid of any mold lines and so on and so forth. There we go. Just clean that up, and then we'll clean the other part up. wispy bits of plastic. And we'll just clean this up like this. There we go. Right, so as usual, always make sure you do a quick dry fit. It's pretty good to me. Yeah. And the dry fit isn't just to make sure it fits, you just make sure that you know how it fits. And then we'll grab some glue. I use super glue when I'm making models. I don't use plastic glue and all that sort of stuff. Super glue is strong enough. Certainly for standard regular models. I mean, you might want to use super glue if it's a big model. You're trying to put a model that's either big or might have a bit of weight to it, so it might not be particularly solid. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything. Unless you're going to be gluing maybe the hips of a knight. You might want to use plastic glue on that joint because you really want to make sure that that's welded. But on the whole, most models, I mean, super glue is going to be strong enough. I mean, that's not going to come apart very easily. And unless, of course, you're storing your models in a freezer or outside, or you live in a particularly cold country, you're really not going to have much issues with super glue. So what we're going to do is we're going to just glue this down like so. I'm just going to pop that on there. Yeah, and that's caught on there. That's not going to come off. I mean, you put some force on it, that'll come off. That should be fine. Okay, and then I'm actually going to put that to one side. Make sure I don't. I'm not going to mix up the models, but put that sprue with that, and then put that with that. You're not going to mix it up, but just keep it together. And then we're going to do this one. And you'll see what I'm doing in a minute once I finish building these two parts. This is purely because what I use for my basing is basically I need to glue it down with some PVA glue. Trouble is, PVA glue does not stick down very well to bare plastic. So what I have to do first is I have to prime the plastic. As simple as that, really. You just put some primer on the plastic. And that way, when you glue the glue, when you glue the glue down, put the glue down, it's going to stick to the primer, and then I can then put my basing material onto that. I let that dry, and then when I seal it, and the PVA glue won't peel off because it's not stuck to the bare plastic. That's essentially what I'm doing here. And then what I can do is, because I'm building the whole models before painting it, when I do that, I can then prime it, I can base it, I can paint it all up, all at the same time. It just saves time. And what you could do, I mean, you could build the whole model and then prime the model, and then put the glue and the basing material down, and then wait for that to dry. But a lot of the time I'm working to, getting things done reasonably quickly. I don't want to be sitting around waiting for things to dry. I mean, PVA glue in itself is a pain in the butt to wait to dry. I don't want to be waiting for things like primer and stuff to dry as well. It's just added time and things like that. So I'll try and get things done, at the same time. I've got lots of things on the go at the same time at the minute. And you just try and keep all those balls in the air. And as long as you're working forwards, as you're always working on something and you're not just kind of sat back waiting for something, you should be all hunky-dory. I mean, it doesn't work perfectly. I mean, there is always going to be some time there. you're essentially wasting time. But I do try and keep myself fairly busy with lots of things on the go at once. So how does this connect? So, oh, I see. Right, just like that. There we go. Right. So we also, what we do with the dry fit is you also have a look to see where the connection points are. Where is this actually connecting to the model? And I can see that we've got some. Stick a little bit of glue on the inside of that. Okay, along there, like so. We shouldn't be too far off with that. And that should be enough. And that will slide in there like that. I mean, there's a few bits of glue that we can scrape off later if we need to. And then this is nice, just going to sit on there. So I'll just smear a bit of glue. And it's just a smearing. And then we'll just pop that on there. Like that. Okay. Whoops. Let that move around a bit. Never mind. So there's that in there. Lovely. That's going to do nicely. Okay, so we now have those two bases. We can move these guys to one side for the time being. Okay, and that's what we have. We have two bases ready to go. See? Just like that. Right, and then what we're going to do is, this is the time saving bit, you see? I have some Vallejo surface primer. Usually put this stuff through an airbrush, but it's good enough for the brush as well. So what I do, grab my palette open. And give this a shake up. What I'm literally going to do is get some of this and just pop it on this on here. Just pop it on the base. No need to be tidy, no need to be clean. All I'm doing is just making sure that I get plenty of primer all over the base. Don't have to be clean, don't have to be thin, doesn't have to be watered down, it can be thick or whatever you want. Yeah, this is literally just a primer onto the base, and all it does is it just gives the glue something to stick to. That's all that's doing. And then what that means is by the time I've actually built the models, this should be dry enough that I'll be able to just pop some PVA glue on it, and I can base the model. And then what that means is that the base material and the model are then all ready for priming, all at the same time, without having to wait too long for things to dry or various other things like that. And what I can do, this is quite a large plain piece of base, so what I will do is I'll just throw the primer over that as well, and then what I'll do is I'll be a little bit rough when I'm adding the glue for the basic material, and that should give us a little bit of a blending between the base material and the model. We can just blend the two textures together. It all makes sense when I'm done. You just it digs quite underneath, goes quite far underneath there, so you just make sure that you've got all your all the areas covered in primer. The last thing you want is a little bit of loose PVA glue that'll start peeling. Because once one bit of PVA starts to peel, it'll just bring the rest of it with it. Unless, of course, something is really particularly sticking it down. But so there we go, that gives us that. And that'll be enough. I mean, we might need to put a little bit on later, but I very much don't. So for now, those things are done. So what we can do is we can now start building the rest of the models. So we'll start with the first one. So we've done parts 1 and 2. So now we'll just go 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's 3 and 4 to start with. And then we'll just clean these up. And get them glued up. One thing I've noticed about these really tiny models is that the mold lines stand out even more so when the model is small, as opposed to, you know, maybe a larger model. Sometimes you can get away with the mold line here or there. And there are other times when mold lines just stand out, and on small models they really do. Just make sure you go around extra careful, make sure you get rid of them all. And always, guys, if you're watching along, throw hi in the comments. Let me know who's watching. See, I used to do this on Facebook, and you know, if I was friends with you, or if you're following my page, I'd actually be able to see your name that you're watching along. But I'm on YouTube and I can't see them, so say hello and let me know what you think. It'll take a little bit to get used to this whole YouTube thing, and it'll gradually evolve over time. Steel 2040, friendly neighborhood stalker. I'm assuming that's a reference to our little to and fro earlier. Chris? You've come over from the Facebook page. So I'm never going to remember that, though, you know. I have to try and remember that's your username. It's the downside with being on YouTube as opposed to Facebook. Is that you get all sorts of random usernames pop up. I've absolutely no idea who I'd be talking to. So I assume that I will no doubt end up just calling you Steel. Gaming heaven, right. Although I suppose I shouldn't laugh too much. My my Xbox handle isn't much different. What I say is it's much different. It's not much, no less ambiguous. It's Dark Angel Hunter. It's a bit yeah. bit ambiguous as to who I am then. I don't know what it is about gaming handles actually. Nobody ever uses your real name, do you? You always come up with something. Is there some sort of ingrained need for anonymity? Try to get this text here somehow. Seems that there are no sharp edges to make sure we get it right. It's all going to be a little bit fluid. Pop it in and hope for the best. My friend's referring to still. Probably be what I'll end up calling you on here now. Be easier to remember. Or certainly easier to call you what I can see on your screen rather than trying to remember what your Facebook name is. Right. Oh, it's so delicate. I thought, you know what? I thought these guys were spindly, but Christ, this lady's tiny. Wow. I thought I'd go break her. I think I'm going to break her. Oh. Right. 5. Here we go. So, what do you think of the sound? Personally, I think YouTube seems to have cleared up the sound a little bit better than Facebook does. I don't know how that happens, but I did a few tests and I listened to them back. It seems that the sound on here is cleaner, even though I'm not using anything different, with the exception of streaming to Facebook as opposed to streaming to YouTube as opposed to Facebook. They must do something differently. Excellent. Well, the new microphone is on the top of my list because this one is, down here. It is really in my way. But I'm glad that the sound's coming through better than it did. I mean, I couldn't hear any static or anything when I was listening to it earlier. So it seems that YouTube's a good shout for certainly for quality, for sound quality, and we'll hopefully I'll pick up a new microphone. I found one. It's on a boom and all sorts. So it's about 30 or 40 quid, I think. So get one of those and see what happens. I know you mentioned about the specific one at one point. I can't remember which one it is, but very expensive. And I couldn't really find one much cheaper than the price of a new one. But we'll see how that happens when we get to that point. But right. I am going to glue this woman down now before I break her. So this is dry already. Actually, I can almost get ready to glue onto that. This is great. Ah, that's it. The Yeti. That's the one. Yeah, I couldn't really find one particularly cheap, but I did find one I did find a microphone. They're on YouTube. We've got a boom and all sorts, and they looked reasonable enough. I need to check actually to make sure that I don't need. I'm not going to need to upgrade the computer before I start adding some microphones as well. There was one I saw, and it said I needed to make sure I had a dedicated graphics to it, and that's just not going to happen. Certainly not yet, anyway. That's where Patreon comes in, but we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. In fact, I will mention Patreon as well, because I mean, people might watch this when after it's been live, and just put me on in the background. I do have Patreon. The link's in the description. Or it should be. I think it is. Which is there, so you can check it out. I'm not going to keep bugging people for it. It's there if you want to go and watch it, have a look at it. Feel free. I think I'll try and find a way of putting all of these videos into Patreon as well, so you can see them there as well. And that's all I'll say about that. And it's just ticking along the bottom of the screen now, actually. The Calidus Assassin. Is it that one? I don't actually know what her name is. Yeah, the Calidus Assassin, yeah. I've also got the other one, which is I'm doing the Eversur Assassin as well. I'm building both of them tonight. In my introduction to this stream, I was saying normally I'm doing my stuff in my evening feeds. I don't know. I fancied a break from my Blood Angels, and I have got a massive army order on the way. I'm just waiting for a few things to arrive before I get started on it, and it has a deadline. So what I want to do at the minute is I am trying to get ahead of some of the other jobs that I've got on at the minute. So essentially I'm putting in a little bit of overtime, which unfortunately in my profession doesn't pay any extra. But yeah, I'm just trying to get ahead of some of the work that I have. So that when I've got that big army order, you know, I can almost, have nothing else on my plate. Well, almost nothing else on my plate. But Christ, this thing is so skinny. And I mean, once these guys, I mean, the individual parts are quite skinny, but once it's together, it's got some, substance to it. You can hold it. Yeah, there's a few bits you've got to be careful not to break off, but on the whole, I mean, you can pick these guys up and think, yeah, they're all right. They're a bit spindly, but they're fine. But Christ, this thing is so tiny. And it's all in one straight line as well. I really think I'm going to break the thing. I've got to find a way of packing it up and sending it to... Where is it sending to? I want to say Nottingham, but I don't think it's in Nottingham. But anyway, it's not that. It's up there somewhere. So we've got to go through the post. Worrying. Okay, parts 7 and 8. Here's the gun and the sword. You like the new sculpts? I have those two in the old sculpts. Funnily enough, I didn't actually know that there were old sculpts. I've actually only been in the hobby for 2 years. So my knowledge of older stuff is very limited. I don't like much of the old models that I have seen in the past. I mean, I don't have any nostalgic feelings towards them. So a lot of the time, most of the old stuff, when people point out, Rogue Trader era stuff, and they have this fondness for the nostalgia of it, and rose tinted glasses of a better game and a better time, it just means nothing to me. Because I came in, you know, to the end of seventh edition. I was only around for about a year before seventh edition decided to kick the bucket. So my knowledge of sculpts and models, I don't have the love affair for the Rogue Trader era. Couldn't stand seventh edition anyway because I tried to have, that's what I came into and that's what I had to try and learn. So on the whole, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I didn't. Most of the new stuff I like because it's better than the look of a lot of the old stuff. To the point, actually, there I do have a few old models I've got on my fisting that I can't stand that model compared to everything else. And Astaroth I have is all right, but I didn't even go out and buy a Dante. I just made my own because I just couldn't stand the thought of buying something that looked like that model. There were other characters for the Blood Angels that, oh, can't stand the bloody things. There are a few of them which are alright, but the trouble is they're in fine cast. So, I mean, Astaroth is alright. Lamatis is okay. I do like oh Christ, I couldn't stand the old Lamatis. But the new one's alright, but again, it's in fine cast. Brother Kabulo. Ugh. Just horrible looking models. Captain Tycho. He's been dead for how many editions? He's in a fine cast model as well, I think. Bloody horrible. Sometimes I get the feeling you either bloody replace him or give him a better model. I was quite disappointed with the Blood Angel release for 8th edition. There are so many old models that could have done with a resculpt or even, God forbid, a Primaris upgrade. And they decided to give us Lieutenant Toblerone. Ugh. Very disappointed. A very, very missed opportunity there on Games Workshop's behalf, I think. I don't mind, just means I have to show them more love. Is that you're referring to Blood Angel models? I kind of went off on a tangent there, didn't I? Start bitching about Blood Angels. I had a head here somewhere. Yeah, I wanna. I really need to get my conversion game up. Um, I mean, if you've if you've been following my Facebook page, and in fact, actually, if you've been following any Blood Angel page, you know, seen the myriad of Slamgunius models that have popped up over the course of the last 6 months or so. And I jumped on that bandwagon too, and I've managed to kit bash a couple of models together, and my Dante being one of them. But my conversion game is a little bit lacking. I just don't have the confidence to go out and buy a 15-20 quid model with the intention of breaking it. Um, it's a difficult leap to take, that is. Um, the trouble is with Mephisto, some of the parts for him, you know, they are fairly reasonable, easy to come across. Like, you know, if you start with Dark Angel veterans, you'd be able to pick up some, you know, the rogue's legs. The his torso is easy enough in the upgrade pack for Blood Angels. Backpack, so on. I mean, the really hard things to find is that massive skull on one shoulder pad. Finding somebody with gauntlets to use for his pistol, unless of course you use his, but I think the other thing as well is I don't know, it's just where to cut it up, how to cut it up, and all that sort of thing. I don't know. I do need to get there eventually and do that. But in my talking, I've managed to build one model. Let's have her into focus. She's come together all right. I feel if I sneeze, I'm going to break her. Oh, that's why you cut him, was for his gauntlets. Yeah, his gauntlets, and the head is another issue really as well. The head and that psychic hood of his. You know, the thing is, if you're all starting to, if you try and cut him up in, you know, into different pieces, you could end up having an issue where you could end up getting in the same problem as having that static pose that he's stuck in the first place, is why you want to build your own. And the fact he's so bloody tiny. Super sexy and on her posing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's quite nice, isn't she? Very nice. I hope I paint her well enough. Very, very small. And being in black as well, it's going to be very difficult to get the highlights looking right without turning the black with the white, almost white highlights into zebra stripes. So that's going to be interesting. Now, if you haven't been along, I mean, I've picked up a couple more viewers in the last half an hour or so. I've glued it all together, and I've done this, and have you tried starting with Eshin Grey as a what? Is that as a base coat or a highlight? Highlight, yeah. Well, I tend to do Dawnstone, and then into what do? I usually do. Dark Reaper is usually my highlight on black, and then I'll knock up to Ghost Grey, which might be a bit high, but yeah, that's what I tend to do. Yeah, I mean, I'll have a look to see what it is, and see what I can come up with when I do it. I did actually go out and buy a new brush. I bought the really fine Winsor & Newton. There's one of the miniature series ones. just purely for just how small and tiny that brush is, and hopefully that will give me a little bit more control than the other size 0 that I usually use. Where I picked up once I was saying this, I picked up a couple, and I've already primed this just the base, but not the rest of the model, and then that means that the PVA glue, when I do the basing material, has got something to stick to. So that's now dry, so she can just be popped to one side for a minute while I build the other one, and then I'll get on with basing them, and then once the basing material is on, that'll be ready for priming. I might be able to see it in my Flesh Terrors army. That's what I use to paint my black. I will go and have a look. Where would I find your Flesh Terrors army? Oh, just replying to somebody on Facebook. Let's go. On my channel, scroll down to a few videos and should be there. I'll go and have a look at those later then. Right, so she's done. I don't need that anymore. Right, get rid of that. Oh, hang on. I think I missed a bit, didn't I? I did miss a bit. I missed a bit on her leg. Oh, all these tiny bits. Right, get that. Getting ahead of myself now, trying to get all the trying to get to a point where I'm ready to move on. What are these? Are these like throwing daggers or something? What are they? Does she have a... See, the trouble is they still come with the old 7th edition rules, so it hasn't got all like the weapon options and stuff on there. Whoops. So, pop that in there. Pop them there. There we go, I've got a little bit of super glue squeezed out of there, so we'll just have to clean that up a little bit once that's dry. Okie dokie. Right. Let's move on to this dude here. Right. Now I heard that skull is actually his skull. I heard that he actually removes his skin or something. Is that right? Which is rather disturbing. But anyway, part number 1. See, this guy, he's got some chunk to it. I don't feel like I'm going to snap it by sneezing too hard at it. Right. Oops. What I do need to do is I need to invest in, or look to invest into one of those mold line removers. Everybody says the mold line removers are worth the money. They might have my blades get blunt so quickly by scraping across, across the model, as opposed to being used to cut things. I might have to go and get one of those mold line removers. One of the very few things that people say is actually worth the money. Tool-wise from DW, that is. That and the old extramarital device from DW. I want to get some more of those as well, actually. I do like them. Good painting, that is. Right. Definitely worth it, but can't get in here where the knife can. No, it might not. I can almost imagine, because I mean the knife is super thin, but I think if I could spend most of my time using the mold line remover and only use the knife into those areas where it just can't reach, it might save some of my blades. Because I do tend to go through blades like crazy. So when I actually need to use the blade for, its intended purpose, it's as blunt as it can be, and I end up causing a mischief. And then usually I end up getting a new blade in there and forgetting it was really sharp, because I'm so used to it being blunt. Ah, Reese, hello. You missed your shout out. I did do it like when I started. So I'll do your shout out now. This is Reese, everyone. She's my #1 patron, first patron I have. She's one of my middle tier patrons. And she gets a shout out in every video for being there. And the link is in the description below. And now I'll go back to my normal broadcasting. What was I saying? Yeah, I usually have a habit of blunting my blades, and then I'm so used to being blunt, so by the time I put a new blade in, I forget that I've put a new blade in, and so I end up slicing my fingers open. Yeah, I'm on YouTube now. Yeah, you didn't say I was live. Did you get the notification though? Surely you must have done. If you press the little bell button next to the subscribe button. Or am I going to have words with YouTube? What on earth are we building on this? Oh, goodness gracious me. Right, okay. So 3 on there, and then 4 goes on. Right, okay. Oh, I see. Okay. But now that I've got, see, I couldn't get the comments to work on Facebook. So now that you know everybody can see what we're talking about, so I don't end up having to read out everything that I'm replying to. Do you like the comments on the side? Is it something we'll keep? Get rid of? Make it bigger? Cool. Excellent. And with YouTube sorting out my sound issues as well, I think we're definitely onto a winner. The only thing I'm worried about is all my posting about what I'm doing and what I'm up to is all on other platforms. Um, and hopefully trying to get people to come across, but then also I've already had the issue with Chris here. Is that on Facebook? I know your names, I know who you are, and here on YouTube, most of the time you've got your screen name, something that you want to be identified as opposed to your identity. So I'm worried that I could end up causing a bit of confusion when I'm talking to people. But I'm sure we'll get over that eventually. But I think there's definitely going to be some getting used to over here on YouTube as opposed to on the Facebook page. The other thing as well, I don't want to sound like an infomercial. Keep telling people, check the links. Go down there, have a look. Find me on. Well, I suppose that's what the ticker tape's for, though. I can call you whatever I need. Fair enough. We'll just see what I feel like in the time. This feed is way better than fade. Well, that's all right then. Good. I mean, I'm glad. One of the biggest things I'm really happy about being over here on YouTube is the sound, because needing to turn up. I mean, I haven't changed the settings on the microphone since the last time I was live. So, my dB gain is still up and all that sort of stuff. However I had it set up on Facebook, it's still exactly the same. It's just that YouTube seems to have equalized it, I suppose. Is that what I'm looking for? Yeah. Oh, that's all right then. I mean, I was I did a few tests earlier on today, and then just replayed them back through my computer speakers, and it just sounded so much better. Certainly on on playback. And obviously, while I'm actually live, I can't listen to myself, otherwise it will feed back through. So I'm glad it's working, and it really is. It's much better. And then once I can get the microphone that I need, so it's not in my face, it's out of the way a little bit, then we'll be golden. Let's get this chat glued up. Excess. Without gluing my thumb to the model. There we go. this is going to be fun to paint as well. Some bits of that are a little bit in the way. I'm sure we'll get around that. Number 5, let's have a look. This. Fiddly. I tell you what, this guy is nothing. I mean, you missed it when I was building the other lass. This one. I was saying to the guys and people watching is, I feel like if I sneeze, this thing's just going to break. And the trouble is to paint her hair, I need to do a bit of dry brushing on there. I think I'm going to break her. So, well, I got to get these guys done. These are part of the commission that I've got coming up. I'm just waiting for some bits to turn up. I'm going to be doing these guys, Sergeant Kronos, and some objective markers, some fairly simple objective markers. So they're coming up soon in the next, I want to say in the next week I should start the objective markers, and I'll pick up Kronos next time I'm in town. So they should be done. So I would say about in the next week, but the trouble is that the kids are still on holiday. So getting time live is going to be a bit of an issue. I might do what I've done tonight and come on live during hobby time to do these guys. I think I need a bit of a break. I've been burning out over those 2 big vehicles, and I do still have some intercessors to paint, but I have a big army coming up, so I think I need to hold off of painting large squads of my own models when I have so many models to paint for a commission job that I will reveal when I have all of the models for that, which again should be sometime over the next week or so. We're getting there. So let's pop this guy together. So yeah, I'm going to get these guys done. I'll do the get the objective markers done and out of the way, and then I do have these little admech guys as well that need doing. I want to clear the bench as much as I can when I'm doing that large. The assassin you're doing has broken off so many times. Yeah, I tell you what, I can tell that this arm isn't very brilliant. It doesn't seem to want to locate where it needs to be. It's more just kind of sitting on the surface somewhere. You get some bits that you just put it in and it locates itself and it slots into place, and it's just then held together with glue. But this one just feels like it's kind of sitting on the surface. It's kind of the same with the other assassin. Where her legs, glued to her hips. It doesn't really have. It's very smooth. This is where a bit of plastic glue would probably come in handy. But I think that's about got it. I'm going to leave that there. Let the glue go off, and I think that just needs a bit of tidying up. Not a brilliant arm, but it'll do. kind of wish that this. I do have the other assassin I've done in the past. It should be on one of the pictures on the Facebook. On the Facebook, it should be in one of the albums on the Facebook page. There we go. Let's actually finish the sentence. Um, and these two assassins are actually for the same guy. And I do kind of feel it's a bit shame that he hasn't asked for all three at the same time. Yeah, I was just talking about him. I don't know. I actually can't remember the build for him. This is before I was filming everything, so I don't really remember building him. He did seem okay. But then, having said that, he's pretty solid in his foundation. So I think I built him. If I remember rightly, both of his legs are glued down, and I think I built him from the legs up. So his feet were already located, if I remember rightly. Kind of made it a little bit easier. I think that's how I built him. I can't remember now. That's what I was just saying. It's a shame that I haven't got all three of them at the same time. Yeah. See, that locates lovely. It's got, plenty of grooves, and it just kind of just locates where it needs to be. Brilliant. Yeah, finally, part 7. There we go. So what I'll be doing is I'll be painting these up over the next. I will be painting these up over the next week. I'll probably get around to priming them, hopefully at some point tomorrow. And then start painting these things, well, first thing next week. Whether I'll be live or not, I don't know. It depends on the kids. And the missus doesn't like me filming when everybody's walking around anyway. And quite frankly, you guys probably don't want the distraction either. School holidays are always a nightmare for getting things like this done, but we'll get there eventually. And I mean, I will keep dropping it in there, but eventually, I do have some big plans for the future about. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. See you later, Reese. I'll catch you in the next one. I do have some big plans for things like Patreon and just generally the whole feel of the feeds and stuff in general in the future. And I mean, if we get to a point, I mean, all my kids go to school full time as of September. And before I carry on, there's another one finished. Let's get him. There we go. Look at that. That's not too bad, is it? Beautiful. And what you will be able to do actually is I'm going to start getting into the habit of. Come on, focus. What are you focusing on? You were focused at one point. Come on. Oh, never mind. Right. Anyway, what I want to get into the habit of is taking a picture of these things right before I finish a feed, so that you can have a nice picture later on. So those guys are now built. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I was saying about the future, didn't I? My kids go to full-time school as of September, which would leave me my whole days for the future to be live, with the exception of obviously your house husband chores and things that need doing during the week. So hopefully, as of September, if you guys can stick with me that long, then we'll start doing some really nice long feeds, and they'll all be here on YouTube. And that's where things like the Patreon and so on and stuff comes in, because that's what we'll be. Those things will be funding not only what I'm doing. I do need to leave this open. I forgot these aren't quite dry yet. I need to, you'll be funding things like that. But then big plans in the future is that perhaps we'll even move into finding something that, a proper studio or something, a big studio with more cameras and more this and more that and more the other. And that's what the Patreon's for. But I'll keep dropping it in. But I'll still do this, even if Patreon never takes off and nobody ever pays for anything. We'll still be doing this, and we'll still be here, just like this. And I'll still pay for better cameras all round and better mics and all that sort of stuff. Okie dokie, so moving on. Let's get on with some modelling, shall we? We've got some primed bases because I said earlier, PVA glue does not stick to plastic very well, and to combat that, all you got to do is give it a prime. We've got some bog standard kitty glue, kitty PVA glue. Great thing about having kids is you've got glue to nick. And I'll just pop a little bit of that on my palette, because my palette's drying out anyway. That'll need to change. And get myself a funky old brush. Which one shall I use? That one. That'll do. Yeah, with bent bristles. Right, this will do. A little bit of water just to make PVA glue a little bit more pliable. There we go. Just a little less gelatinous. If I just put just a tiny bit of water in there. Right. So just spread a bit of PVA glue around here. You don't need to be clean or tidy about it if it gets up onto some of the plasticky bits. Not too much, but a little bit will be fine. There we go. And on this guy as well. Now I'm deliberately going onto this one. So paint it, put some glue up there, put some primer up there to help blend the two parts of the model together, just because of how big this guy's base is. Get right down in there. Right. Are you ready for this? The world's most expensive basing material. Are you ready? Oh, look at that. Kitty litter. No word of a lie, that's why I use my mate. He's got a cat and he uses this dry, powdery, clumping stuff. Kitty litter. Brilliant stuff. It gives you a really nice, rocky, earthy kind of texture. Just like, it could be almost anything. It could be piles of rubble or just generally dry, barren, rocky areas. And the really great thing about it is, if I get my thing out, so it just lets me put everything back in the tub when I'm done. And I get a little spatula. Where's mine? Yeah. Look at this. Hang on a minute. If I bring this up. There we go. Right. If I bring that up, You see how many different textures of stuff there is there. I mean, there's so many different layers and different. There's so much different. It's just big stuff, little stuff, powder. It's just pure powder in there as well. So when you put that on the PVA glue, you know, your big stuff will get in there, your medium stuff will get on there, and then the powder will just fill out the gaps. Brilliant stuff. The trick is though, is you have to make sure that you churn it up. When you're about to use it, you churn it up. Otherwise all the big stuff will be on the top. You won't be able to get to the little stuff. So you get in there and just scoop it up. Shake it around, give it a stir, and you'll get all on the top there. You'll get all the different grades right on the top. And then what you do is you grab your miniature without sneezing and breaking her. You just literally just tip that in there, bury it around, get it in there. There we go. Do the same thing with him. Get him in there. That's all you do. You literally just bury him in the bury him in it. Get him out. And then get yourself something sharp, something heavy, solid, and just and then we have it. Oh, where are we? There we are. Oh dear. There we go. Can you think? Oh, come on. You were in focus then. Yeah, look at that. Beautiful. And then him as well. Look. You get the various lumps and bumps and so on and so forth. Yeah. All you do is just pop that back in. Yeah. There we go. And what we'll do is we just need to give that when that's dry, which won't be until tomorrow. We need to just secure all that down with some watered down PVA. But before then, we give it a bit of a blow, get rid of the dust. And then what I'll do later is I'll actually use my airbrush just to spray some air into it and really get rid of some of that stuff once the PVA is dry properly. But that's it. And then once that's done, once the watered down PVA glue on there is done, you can now see that those are now ready for priming. Yeah, ready for painting. So that's it. That's all there is to it. And that's why I primed the bases right at the start. Is so that the only thing I'm now waiting for is PVA glue to dry, which you've got no control over. And I can now move on to something else while that's happening. Rather than waiting until this stage and then trying to prime the model or just trying to prime the base. Then waiting for that to dry, then putting the PVA glue on, you know. So that's that done, and now I can just work on something else. Which is going to be what? Well, I think what I need to do is I need to change the paper in my wet palette because that will start to curl up. So let's see if I can find some of that. I did get in on the old Everlasting Wet Palette Kickstarter, so I'm hoping that my wet palette papers are going to last that long to get that, because I'm running out. I think, what am I down to? I'm down to like 2 or 3 bits of paper left. So, where are we? What are we doing? Right, get some water. Come on. Let's get some of this. Down to 2 bits of paper left. I really hope that it's not going to be too long before the Redgrass Games get their wet palette out. Should be getting an email this week to tell me that it's on the way, hopefully. Has anybody here got in on that Kickstarter? Right, let's lay that out flat. Paper towel and wax paper. See, when Redgrass Games were doing their PR before they launched their Kickstarter, I was getting in on some of the conversations and seeing what people were saying. And a lot of people were saying that people that got in on that Kickstarter were foolish. I mean, it got funded within 30 minutes. No, 46 minutes, I think. They wanted about 30 grand. And they ended up getting 270 grand. And yeah, it was within 46 minutes they got themselves funded. A lot of people were cussing and fussing about the fact that people had spent 30 euros on a wet palette. But the funny thing is, you say you're old school with paper towels and wax paper. In the UK, the right paper to use is actually really hard to find for a start, because a lot of our wax paper / parchment paper is waterproof, unfortunately, so it kind of defeats the point of using it. And finding parchment paper in this country is almost impossible. Only certain places stock it, and even in our supermarkets, they don't all stock the same amount. See, I've never heard it being called butcher paper, to be honest. But one of the other things I always seem to have a problem with. I don't know. I just don't seem to be able to get the ratio right between the water and the paper, and getting. Yeah, there's always something right. It's just never really worked for me. So actually, the reason why I got in on the Kickstarter was, one, it's a really nice looking palette, really slim, so it looks good. It will look good on camera for a start. As a business, it looks good as opposed to paper towel and wax paper. But then there's also, it comes with instructions. It comes from a business that I can talk to them about their specific wet palette, as opposed to just talking to a game shop and saying, I have a wet palette, can you help me with it? Yeah, these guys actually built the thing, so they should know how it works. And so hopefully I'll be able to get down with it properly. Because even with this Fisk's wet palette, I've never really fully got it down properly. I've never really got it to work how I want it to. It's always, Too much water, not enough water. Oh, laser cut stent. Ah, you see laser cutting of it. Yeah, yeah. I'd love to be able to do that. Laser cutting. I'd love to be able to make stent. Obviously, paint. Doing so many different paintings, being able to put myself together, decals and stencils and stuff. If I could make them myself, cool. The amount of things that I would be able to offer would be ridiculous. I have tried. It's another thing I've tried. I've tried doing stencils, and they didn't really seem to work out very well. Um, I've got. I did buy some clear stencil paper, and I did buy some white stencil paper. And the problem I've had with them was the clear stencil paper. Um, it's great and all, but it's clear, and the ink is virtually transparent as well. So when you put them onto a model, you see right through it. So it changes the color of the stencil. And then if you use the white one, unfortunately, because of the you don't have you end up with a white ring around your image, and when you're trying to make stencils for a shoulder pad, they're not very big. The doors a while back. No, I don't think I have actually. I might have to. Where would I find those? I'll just search your name on the group. Oh, I could see if I could just search for you. Hang on. Although it depends actually how you are quite often uh, quite active on here, so it might disappear. You might have disappeared into the abyss. Uh, yeah, that probably disappeared. No, it's what I mean is I was talking about transfers, but yeah, being able to make my own transfers and stencils, um, it would make life so much easier. I did go out and buy some of the excuse me. Oh, oh, hang on a second. I did buy some of the TT combat stencils, which are all well and good, but the trouble is they're 3 mil MDF, and things like the triangle for the rhino tops and things. If ever, nobody's ever actually asked me to do any yet, but it'd be nice to have them just in case. But they're 3 mil MDF. They're solid and they're not see through, which isn't brilliant. And I would love to be able to make my own stencils and transfers and stuff, because whenever any of this sort of stuff does turn up in a job, it's nice to be able to offer those sorts of services, to be able to paint like that. But I've had issues with my stencil creating so far, and I haven't really looked into transfer. No, I've had issues with my transfer creating so far due to various factors, but it would be nice to be able to look into stencil making as well, because being able to make my own stencils would be brilliant. But I suppose it's all down to it's all cost at the end of the day, and it's also what have I got handy, or what hardware, software, what stuff have I got available to use? I don't have to buy. And also skill as well. I mean, there's the 3D printing market is starting to take off quite a lot these days, and being able to 3D print stuff seems like to be a really good skill to have. But I wouldn't even dream about knowing how to put together an STC file. I wouldn't even know where to begin with one of them. So I do sometimes feel like I'm getting left behind. I was thinking about picking up a laser printer at one point. A laser, regular, laser ink printer, so that I can. Maybe that's where I was going wrong with my transfers. I was using an inkjet printer, and I had the inkjet printer paper, transfer paper, but maybe the resolution wasn't there, or it doesn't go into the paper very well, or I don't know. Right. Not sure what I'm going to move on to once I've done the red on these guys. Once their helmets are done, you see their torsos, they're all waiting for a colour to come in the post, and that could take about 2 weeks. And these don't require very complicated paint jobs. The client does like his models done in a fairly simple manner, to be honest. So these are not going to take very long at all. Base coat, wash. That's pretty much it. Maybe pick out a couple of details with the bronzy colour. A couple of clothes we need to wait for that to dry. Right. Oh. It would appear that my I was using the wrong one. Wow. Oh, actually, what we could do, I've got an experiment on the go at the minute. See, what I've been doing here is I've been experimenting with creating an Agrellan earth. Now, I know what the medium to use Agrellan earth is, which is this, it's crackle paste. It's not crackle medium, it's crackle paste. I use this one, and I've got a white, transparent and a white one. And all I did was I just used some paint and a couple of inks, the FW inks and some Vallejo paint, and I've coloured them and mixed that up, coloured them, and it's crackled all right. It's crackled quite nicely. And I'm just having a look. Oh wow! I've just had a look at those pictures. They look really cool. So is that with that? So what? That's butcher's paper on a laser cutter. That's really awesome. I do like that. I'd love to be able to get into that. Maybe I should have a look at a laser cutter. How much is a laser cutter? It's a small fortune. So it's well, they're not as expensive. Some of the cheaper ones, they're not as expensive as I thought they were. I think you and me are going to have a chat about what does it take. We got mine used for 180 quid because they didn't know how to set it up properly. See, I don't know how I'm going to be able to. I don't know how to set one up. But I think you and me are going to have a chat in the future because if I can create stencils, that would open up all sorts of things for me. Right. Okay. Okay. So yeah, crackle paste, not crackle medium. Crackle paste. Crackle medium is something completely different. So I got these. So I mixed it. So I mixed up the khaki paints and ink just to get a vague kind of color. Now that's, you know, you see that they're not quite the same, but they're close enough. And I give them a wash with a Growing Earth as well, Agrax Earthshade as well. Now what I just want to do is I just want to have a look to see what they look like once I get some color on there. Khaki is the color I use to mix into the crackle paste. So I get this, a little bit of this, and rub that into that, like so. Nothing special, just a quick dry brush. Just to pick out some of those details. Right, so yeah, that's pretty good, isn't it? There we go. Why do you keep focusing on the mat at the bottom? It's going all right. I used slightly different colours. You see, this one's lighter than that one. The first one was transparent, and that was just khaki and brown ink. And this one was the white one, and I used khaki, brown, and black ink to give it a different kind of tone to it. So we're just gonna do this, and this is in preparation for the big army. I'm just giving it this a practice now, so I know what to do. So if I go out and buy another pot of this stuff, I can then mix up a whole pot of this, and this cost me about £7. This cost me £5. Yeah, and then this cost me about £2.50, which I've got virtually a whole bottle of already. and those, which obviously I don't need to buy again, cost me about £4 each. That's 250 mil, I think. Yeah, 250 mil. That's 24 mil. Yeah, the math. Yeah, this is going to be a whole lot cheaper if I mix this. If I turn this, or even some of this, into Agrex, into a Grelin Earth for myself, yeah, it's ridiculously cheap. I mean, the amount that I could make of this, I mean, I don't even need to color match it, not really. Because as long as the whole army is pretty much the same, you don't even need to color match it. As long as it's kind of close, you pretty much dry brush it correct. You change the color of it by dry brushing it. And that's pretty much what we're doing here. Bring up the colors. I do prefer this one actually, the slightly darker, and that's what I'm checking out at the minute actually. Is I'm looking to see what color I prefer. Actually, that was the darker one when it started. I think I've forgotten now. Oh well, we're just playing around with this. We're just seeing if I like how they come out. If I needed them perfect, I would have kept them out and gotten a Grelin Earth out as well. I just wanted to have a play around and just see what it looked like when all was said and done. See if I was happy with the result. I don't think I'd never mixed paint in with this. I had actually in the past. I used the white one and then actually just primed and painted over it. I'd never considered actually putting paint in with the crackle paint. So I just wanted to see how it came out. And if it comes out alright, which it does look like it has. I mean, let's get that over here. I mean, that comes out alright, doesn't it? I mean, that looks fine enough. And as long as that looks alright, I mean, it's stuck to the base alright. That's the primed base. You know, it looks alright, and that's good enough to use. I haven't got any of my models handy, but I've used the Grelin Earth on at the minute. They're all put away in their respective display cases, but yeah, that looks pretty much how I would usually base my models on, which is pretty much what he wants on his. So yeah, I could pretty much taint that whole tub of crackle medium with. I could end up using a whole bottle of Vallejo paint and a few drops of ink here and there to tint it. But I mean, that's ridiculously cheap. And it comes out exactly the same. So yep, that's what we'll be doing there. So that's I'll call that experiment a winner. So that's that done. And now these guys are ready for another. I don't think they need another coat. Oh yeah, they might need a little bit. Yeah, we'll put in another little bit of paint on these guys. Use a slightly smaller brush this time. Get these finished up. is very much a success. I'm quite happy with the way that's going to be. I don't know if I'm going to use the whole. You see, I'm trying to think about before I end up putting a bunch of paint in with that crackle medium. Is I am trying to think is am I ever going to need to change or use a different color? You see, now that I've tried putting ink and paint in with the crackle medium, and I realise that it does crackle okay. There's no difference to it. You can prime it up. I mean, I'm not sure if I need to. I mean, the transparent one. What I was thinking is I might put a little bit of not paint, but blue ink in with some crackle paint, the transparent one, and see if it comes out like a blue translucent ice looking crack, which I think would look really good for an ice base if ever I need to do one. But for the white one, I was thinking, well, I don't think I'll ever need to use white crackle paste. Not for miniature painting. I'm not really sure if I could come up with any reason to use it as a white crackle. So I'm thinking, what other colours, apart from red, for, like a Martian look? And I suppose you could use a deep brown for cracked mud. And, and using the old, khaki kind of dusty colour for cracked desert. And I'm just wondering if there's any other colours that you could use that would look natural. I mean, obviously, you could quite easily go down the purple, green kind of grounds, for various alien type, planets. But they're a little bit too outlandish for the way that I tend to paint. I just wondered if there's any other colours that would crack, that would look reasonably good. You see, the reason why I'm thinking that is that perhaps I should just change the white that I have there and change the whole lot into the desert stuff, because I mean it's the colours that I use for my own army as well. And if anybody does want mud, then I'll just buy another one and just change that one to brown. Blackish for lava. Yeah, oh yeah, black. Yeah. See, I did try a lava base once, and I used what I did was I painted the base, the plastic. I painted that as lava. So I tried to do some glow. And I mean, this was early on in my painting, so it wasn't brilliant. But I painted some lava. And then what I did was I used the clear stuff and just used it straight out clear over the lava. And so when that cracked, you could pretty much see right through it. And then what I did was I actually dry brushed it black. And the idea is that the clear that you could see through into the lava was like the molten stuff that it's kind of drying, but it's still you can kind of see through it because it's still molten. And then the black on top was the dried blackened earth. I wonder if I've got it. I don't know if I've got them handy anymore. Most of my bases kind of disappeared. And actually, there's a little bit of history of bases of operations. That's what I started as. My business model wasn't actually going to be commission painting. My business model started out as being somewhere where you could buy bases that, rather than resin cast things that you'd get almost anywhere, I was going to hand make my bases, from basing materials and build them up, industrial ones or technical paints and so on. And that was going to be my business model. You could buy bases from, which is why my company is called Bases of Operations. That was the original idea. But as it turned out, I only ever had one customer, and then he happened to ask me if I'd paint some models for him, and so it went on from there. And ironically, that customer is what he's for. So, and he's still with me. So, it's a little bit of history for him. But I don't have my bases anymore. They're not knocking around to hand. I put them away somewhere. But yeah, maybe I'll go out and buy a load of that stuff. In fact, actually, you can buy brand loyalty at its finest. It is brilliant. I'm really chuffed with him. He's stuck around with me from the beginning. And actually, my other customer. This is for these guys are for my second customer. He comes back regularly as well. So I can keep my customers, which is what I'm happy for. I've had one customer that came to me once, had some models off me, and never came back. But you can't win them all. Right, we're. I never thought I'd say this, but we are literally watching paint dry here. I've run out of things that I can do before I have to start priming things. I think it's been a productive night, and it is coming up for midnight. Yeah, it's 1:45, and I think it's time to wrap it up there. I think so. Let's pop this one up here. Oh, was there a comment there? No, that's a good thing, because when the lights chunk, you won't have any free time. Well, yeah, that big job is coming very soon, and it is going to take all of my strength to be able to take it to the end. It's going to be a big job. Yeah, and once I get the models for that, I'm gonna reveal what it is exactly, and I am quite excited about it. But it's going to be, we're going to see if we can do it. It's got a bit of a deadline to it. It's 2,000 point army in time for July. So by the time things get here, it's going to be pushing the end of this month. So April, June, I'll have May, June to get it done. I'm not sure exactly when in July he wants them, so I need to find that out. But we're going to have to see what happens there. 4 months. 4 months. That's 1,000 points a month. We'll see. There's a couple of vehicles in there. There's a lot of troops, and there's a couple of kit bashes. So we're gonna have to see. It's gonna be a lot. I mean, very little edge highlighting. That's definitely gonna be. Yeah, I am not edge highlighting 2,000 points of models. We are going to be dry brushing it. We're going to try and get it done as best as we can. We're not edge highlighting 2,000 point army. And that's why I'm testing a lot of this stuff out. I'm testing the bases out now. These stuffs are for the same guy, but they're for a separate order, because he's got a tournament in time. So he wants them done in time for his tournament, which is in June. So I'm going to get those done. They're going to be done. Hopefully, these guys and the objective markers, they'll be done before the end of this month. Hopefully, I should be able to pick up the rest of that stuff, and then get these guys done and dusted out of the way. Waiting a couple of weeks, but those are the last models, and then I do have a bunch of dystopian war ships to do. So we need to get those done and try and get them done, and then try and clear out. So basically, clear out as much of this stuff in time to get this 2,000 point army done. But I'm not too worried about the ships. They're going to be fairly simple, but they'll also be used as brakes. So my hobby time over the next few months could end up being catching up with commission time, but we're going to have to see what happens. But I digress. We're going to, when that happens, you can come along for the ride, and we'll see what happens when it happens to me, really, at the end of the day. So thank you for joining me tonight on the first of the YouTube videos. If you want to comment, stick it in the comments. If you want to like and subscribe, please do. And I am erratic. You're not going to see me regularly live at the same time every week, or even at the same day, time of day. It's all very erratic. Hit the bell button next to the subscribe button. That way you'll get your notifications every time I pop up. There is the Patreon links down there if you want to have a look. And thank you very much, Chris. I'm glad you like the stream. YouTube is going to take some getting used to, but all my links of who I am, where I am, and how to find me is all down the bottom. Check them out, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next feed, guys. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. All right, ta-ra.